Welcome to Fox 55's Fastlane.
Thanks for joining us on your Sunday morning home for the local auto racing scene. I'm Bryon Graff. Curt Keene will be along shortly with your Keene Observations. Jana Wimmer and Scott Wimmer will have your tech tips, and we also will be joined by our special guest for this week. The 4th of July weekend had racing at State Park Speedway on Thursday and Marshfield on Friday. Our first stop, Rib Mountain.
The field, we're ready to go.
Auto Select Super Late Model drivers competing in the Tavern League 60. Mike Egan in the 44 with the fast time. He was a winner last time out at Golden Sands. Mark Mackesy, the early race leader, with Natalie Decker giving him a run. Derek Kraus cut a tire in turn 4 on lap 19, and that sets up a restart in which Decker shifts into the lead. With 5 laps to go, Jeremy Lepak and MG Gajewski get tangled out of turn 2. Another restart gives Egan a last chance to move ahead of Decker, but it's not going to happen. Her strong car holds him off on the way to the win.
I feel great. It means a lot, especially here. This has been my favorite track ever since, ever since 2 years maybe ago. At first I didn't really like it, it was hard, but I love winning here. This is where I want to win.
The Budweiser Fabiano Brothers Limited Late Model provided fireworks normally reserved for the sky. Justin Mondyke, good all year in the 44, had fast time. Just under green, 3 cars from Wisconsin Dells end up in the front wall. Nick Rail in the 52, the only one to continue. Todd Handrick in front now, then contact between Mondale Peters and Evan Call brings out another Fox 55 Fastlane caution. Yet another yellow flies when Jeff Nowak and Handrick make contact up front. Add it all up with just 4 cars remaining. Mondyke cruises through the field and into victory lane. He holds a 78-point lead in the standings.
Once Nowak and Handrick got into it, I was coming on, I was right on their bumper, I was just waiting for something because I knew the guys were not going to play nice together, and everything worked out, and once they got both sent to the back, it was smooth sailing from there.
The Krieger Insurance Pure Stock race belonged to Nick Erickson Jr. He jumped to the front and held off a strong push by Travis Vohm. Vohm still holds a 21-point lead over Erickson in the standings, but this night belongs to Erickson, the first repeat winner this year in the Pure Stocks.
The car was really good in the feature. We struggled early on in the night, but we got it dialed in for the feature, and it was really fast.
The Snap-on Mini Mod saw Alex Vohm move past Jeremy Trettine at the start. Meanwhile, Phil Maloff making his move through the field, working all the way up to second, which was enough to give him the points lead by 1. But the 13-car of Vohm would not be touched, giving Vohm his first feature win.
Got the heat, got the feature, and I have to thank all my sponsors and my dad, my mom, John, everybody. I couldn't do it without them. It's a very great sport to be in.
The Motors Service and Supply Mini Stocks gave everyone in the stands a wow moment. Just watch Greg Blount in the 22 telling everyone it is go time. He takes the outside route, going 3 wide, pulling from 8th place all the way into 1st, pulling away from everybody on the way to victory.
Yeah, I sat in traffic and just decided I need to see if this will work, and tried it out and hit the grass on the outside, made the pass. I was like, wow, I passed in the grass on the outside.
Luke Fenhouse had the car to beat in the professional drywall bandolero division. He had back-to-back fast times, moving out front on a restart and into victory lane.
Tough day today. You crashed your motorbike, coming back with a fast time and a feature win. How's it feel?
Oh, it feels pretty good.
The 4th of July racing weekend then shifted to Marshfield on Friday night. Now, this was a rescheduled race from late May with a salute to the veterans who all gained free admission. With the fuzzy dice hanging from the rearview mirror, here's your recap. In the super late models, Brent Strelka from Freedom in the 52 car picking up the fast time. 35-lap feature. Ben Pettis, the defending track champion in the 22. And Don Thunder Turner in his 50th year of racing, driving the 7 car. They make contact on the front stretch. On the restart, it was all Strelka pulling away to pick up his first ever feature in a super late model at Marshfield. Mark Eswine, the man to beat this year at Marshfield, was second. Colin Refner taking third.
It was great. My crew put a lot of work in tonight. We made a huge change. Got to thank Racetech Chassis. They pointed us in a little bit of a direction this week again with our car, and it paid off big time. I mean, car was good all night.
Curtis Wasick and Dylan Mackesy setting the field in the Pure Stocks feature. The Jeanettes split them 3 wide. Kyle to the inside, Carl on the outside. To the final lap, Carl Jeanette in front, followed by Dan Weinfurter. Jeanette picks up his 6th feature win this year, counting all the tracks he's racing, and he keeps his hold on the points lead.
It's been pretty good. Now it's just starting to get a little iffy now with rundown tires. I actually had to swap some tires from the left side onto the right, so that way it would work for the feature, but it actually made it work a lot better.
Extreme 4s at the start of the race, some 3-4 wide racing. Charles Dixon in the 71 getting collected on the backstretch, hitting the inside retaining wall. Dixon walked away, but the car was severely damaged. Kevin and Adam Eckes, the father-son duo, battling for the lead, back and forth. Ultimately, father knows best. Kevin pulls in front for good, winning his first feature in about 10 years.
Oh no, it's been a long time coming for me to get a feature win, and we raced hard right to the end. It was an awesome race.
The Bandits feature belonged to Greg Blount. We saw how good he was the night before at State Park Speedway. The man driving the 22 picks up his 2nd feature win on this 4th of July weekend. Marshfield Speedway runs again this Friday night with the Jim Box 61 and the return of the CWRA Series. Curt Keene joins us now for the latest and greatest updates in the local auto racing scene, and we like to call it Keene Observations. You know, the racing community is full of families. There are so many connections when you go out to the track. The Vohms are one of them, and on Thursday night, Alex won his first feature. Boy, was he excited after that race.
You know, and that was great to see because Alex has been trying really hard. He's an 18-year-old kid, started racing when he was like 13. And to get a victory, seeing all his fans run down in victory lane, that's what the sport of local short track racing, it explains the story. And it was just exciting to see him celebrate. I think it was a new haircut. He got a new haircut, got rid of the long, shaggy hair, and first night out, he wins a feature. Great job by Alex Vohm.
We talked to him a little bit, and he thought he wouldn't be able to sleep for a while. I mean, that's how exciting it was, you know, to finally get that win and all the emotions that come out, and he had so many people to thank as well.
Yeah, he was just very thankful, you know, to his mom and dad and all his great sponsors in the marathon area. You know, and it was just, you know, exciting to see everyone around his car when we went over there to talk to him, and I think they're still probably celebrating with some cake and some ice cream today on, you know, this 4th of July weekend.
3 Wisconsin Dells cars visited Wausau to practice for the Big 8 race in the limited lates. They end up taking each other out. A lot of fireworks in this race, but you know the 44, he was just moving up, and Justin Mondyke gets the win.
Yeah, Justin Mondyke's been the lead of the class in extending the points lead. You know, it's good to see that 44, you know, kid move up from, you know, 4-cylinder racing to a limited late model and the success he's had. Interesting, you know, those Dells cars, Kelsey Schultz, Chad Miller, and believe a Roar guy. Not familiar with those cars because I don't get to the Dells as much on Saturday nights, but they came to practice, and all of a sudden their night was over, and then later on in the race, you know, Todd Hendrick and Jeff Nowak, little fireworks, and that was pretty interesting.
Justin Mondyke actually visited our studios a week ago, so we're working on a feature that we're planning to run at some point. So we want to let Justin know that we do have a story that's going to air on him, and that's going to come up next week.
Okay.
So we do have that for him as well. Also moving on, and speaking of racing families, Luke Fenhouse won a feature. He wiped out earlier in the day. Explain this.
Well, I was reading on Facebook before I got to the racetrack, and Al put on Facebook that Luke crashed on his dirt bike in the driveway and didn't know if he was going to be racing. He had bandages and he was all cut up sore, but did a great job with fast time and another feature win. I think he's somewhere in the top of the point standings, but he's had some hard luck earlier in the season, but it was cool to see, you know, him win, bandage up, and, you know, racing's in the blood. He wasn't going to sit that out. One thing he learned, though, he knows not to do anything on race day. Just lay on the couch, go to the store with Dad, do whatever. Don't go out and you know, get yourself injured before a race.
Just play it safe?
Play it safe. That's what you got to do.
That's the best way to do it. Well, next week, Marshfield will have its first Central Wisconsin Racing Association Challenge Series race. Why don't you tell us about what's involved there?
Challenge, the CWRA group of guys, Jana Elft, and they used to race all the 3 racetracks back in the day. They kind of broke up over the years, and they got back at the Dells. They've already had 2 racing events, which my buddy Jeff Storm won the last one at the Dells last Saturday. and they're going to be back at Marshfield, and it's good to see the old group of guys getting back together and forming back that affiliation that was known when Dick Trickle ran, and Larry Deachens, Tom Reffner, some of those greats, and great to see the group back together at Marshfield, and it should be a good one with the Jim Bach Memorial.
You look at the schedules for the tracks around our area, a little bit of off time as we wrap up the 4th of July weekend. Overall, as you look at different tracks, what do you see shaping up? Some interesting races. We touched on how tight the races were last week when you were here. What do you see going forward now?
Well, I think it's quite interesting. Last week when you asked about the points, how they shaped up. Looking back last year, MG and Gajewski won by a couple points over Mark Mackesy. The Snap-on Mini Mods, Brad Conant won by 1 point. So what I see this year, you got to be pretty. Be patient and not worry about the point standings. I think, it'll be better racing, but, it's been great racing, top it off. And I expect it's going to be a battle all the way to the end. And like you said, month of July, we're going to be busy all the way through August, and it's going to be pretty fun.
Our thanks to you, Curt Keene with Keene Observations. He's going to join us again a little bit later on in the show for our driver guest interview. It's time now for us to take our first break. When we return, a Sprint Cup driver shows he's back from injury and in the hunt for a chase bid. Welcome back to Fox 55's Fastlane. I'm Bryon Graff. Last weekend marked the homecoming for Jeff Gordon, who's taking his final spins around the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. The road course at Sonoma is a tough one to top and then stay there. Coming into last weekend, it produced 10 different winners in the last 10 races. Here is a look at the hometown hero, Jeff Gordon, born in Vallejo, California, the northern part of the state, finishing third or better in 13 of his 22 starts at the track. Lap 29, David Reagan, Martin Truex Jr. getting together, and ouch, Truex into the wall. We go to 5 laps to go, running on good tires. Kyle Busch passes Jimmy Johnson for the lead and hangs on to take the checkers. His first win this year and a big boost in competing for a spot in the chase.
And I can't say enough about this victory and my team and everyone from Joe Gibbs Racing, from Joe Gibbs to my team guys to the 11, the 19, and the 20 team. The chassis shop, body shop, fab shop, everybody that does so much to pull for me, that helped me and prayed for me to get me back in this race car, to get me here today was quite special.
Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch finishing 1-2, marking the first time the Busch brothers finished in those top 2 spots in a Sprint Cup race. Between them, they have 800 starts. Clint Boyer third, season points leader Kevin Harvick, and Daytona 500 winner Joey Logano rounding out the top 5. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, Ryan Newman, and Sam Hornish Jr. closing out the top 10. Wisconsin's Paul Menard 13th, and Matt Kenseth finishing in 21st place. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series runs again tonight with the Coke 0400 presented by Coca-Cola. Joey Logano hoping to become the 6th driver to sweep the Daytona 500 and the Daytona July race in the same season. That was last done by Jimmy Johnson in 2013. Time for another Fox 55 Fast Lane break. When we return, we'll be joined by our driver guest, not only a driver, but an owner as well. Welcome back to Fox 55's Fast Lane with Bryon Graff and Curt Keene, and it is time for us to welcome in our special guest. He's having a great season this year at State Park Speedway, currently 2nd in the super late model standings. It is our pleasure to introduce to you Jay Van Der Geest. Jay, thank you so much for joining us this weekend.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate being invited.
Yeah, glad to have you. 2nd in the standings, a full-time racer, and you've been doing that for a while at State Park Speedway. Kind of take us through your season and what's been going well for you this year.
Well, it started out a little bumpy, and just to get the car figured out, and it's coming in every week. It's coming in a little faster, and really happy with it. And for a while there, I thought I was out of the points, and just kept on digging. And last night was a good run, and ended up 2nd in points. So it's been fun so far.
Jay, you've been doing a lot of racing over the years. I think I met you when I was a young kid, and you ran at the Tomahawk Speedway, ran many years at Marshfield, but the last, since the Wimmer family took over State Park Speedway, you made State Park Speedway your place. What makes State Park Speedway your home track these days?
Well, I just like the family atmosphere. I miss that from Tomahawk days, when there was kids and families, and the drivers all got along, and the families all got along, and I like that. We got out and toured around for quite a bit, a few years, and when you get out on the road in the tour series, it's more of, you don't see a lot of family and friends and local people. Yeah, exactly. So you go to State Park Speedway, I mean, it's right in our backyard. You know the people and been raised up around them and know about everything, you know.
We were talking a little bit earlier about just the nature of racing. You can go so long without winning a race, but when you do, it just reinvigorates you and it really gives you that itch to want to do it again. You won a race last year, you've won other races. What is it about racing that drives you to come out and want to do it and keep doing it?
It's an addiction because you can be so frustrated for so many weeks and weeks upon weeks and years it can be, and then you finally get that victory win. And it's like that just stays and you want another one, you want more of it, and it'll make you go through painful nights just to get back to that. That's the neat thing of the sport.
You're also a car owner, 4 teams, so that really keeps you busy.
Yes, it does. Yep, 4 teams. It would be my son Levon, runs the Bandolero class, and then I have Chris and Jason Weinkoff that run in the ARCA series, then through the Midwest. And then I have my team that races at State Park Speedway. So it keeps us all busy. We have a lot of great people in the shop, and we're blessed with that. And we kind of all team up together because nowadays it takes so much to keep a team going. So we all kind of pull it together to help each other out to keep it going.
And how exciting is that when you see them have success?
It's no different than if I have success. I feel just as excited. In the same way as they feel just as excited for me or Levon. I mean, Chris and Jason and Ray, they help my son out just like if it's their own son, and that's the atmosphere in our shop.
And I think that's so cool about your team. It's like you said, the family atmosphere. You got the Weinkoff family, you know, you got their Uncle Dan that's helping Levon's team, and it, you know, and pretty much everyone that is on your team, you treat them like your own family members. I mean, your shop, I mean, your door's always open for people to come and, you know, enjoy racing in the sport. It's just something cool that you do for those people, and without them, you wouldn't be able to be successful. I mean, look at the guys working on your cars, Jason and Chris, on Tuesday night practices. I mean, you just got a great atmosphere up in your shop.
Yep, absolutely. We, my wife, when she cooks for our family, or if I cook for our family, we cook for the whole team. That's our family, and that's our whole thing that we talk about all the time. Probably 5-6 days a week we eat together, talk together, have a drink together once in a while, and just have a lot of fun. We're a close-knit group of people.
A few races back, if I recall correctly, you and Chris were racing pretty hard side by side. Do you ever just say, I'm the owner here, just let me go?
No, I was just playing with them for a few laps to make them feel fast, and then I just passed them. Yeah. So,
but that's competitive side that you guys are. You guys are probably the most competitive people. You and Chris, I think. You know, you're a little older than Chris, but you guys probably have competitions even in the shop, even out on the racetrack. That's just how you two guys are, right?
Oh, that's just the way we are, and we'd never, including Jason or anybody, hurt each other or do anything deliberate. But we like to have fun, and yeah, that's great. In fact, I just celebrated my 50th birthday this year in June, and my wife and Chris's wife both threw a surprise birthday party for us. So we even celebrated our birthdays together. He turned 40 and I turned 50.
So did either one of you know that you were going to a surprise birthday party? Were you going to his?
I was the only one that was totally left in the dark, the funny thing about it. And my wife had it a month and a half ahead of time, so I wouldn't sniff it out. And Chris honestly thought he was a part of making my surprise party.
Oh,
and so when he pushed me through the door, I was just like, wow. And then when he started looking around and seeing the posters, happy birthday, Chris, then it hit him. So it's really, really cool. The wives did a spectacular job.
That's awesome stuff outside the racetrack that people don't know. Awesome.
Exactly.
You both touched on Levon getting into racing. How old were you when you started? How old is he? And what do you see as similarities as drivers when you look at him out there?
I started very late. I started probably when I was like 30, 29 or 30.
Okay.
And Levon started when he was 6. And the similarities are the same. We both have the drive, we want to win. And when we don't win, we don't like it. So.
That's great. That's you can see that it's all in the family there. We're going to wrap up that portion of our interview. Now it's time for our checkered finish. So Curt and I are going to go back and forth with our fast-paced questions here. And to start things off, we would like to know, what was your first car?
A left-hander Monte Carlo.
All right.
Race car you're talking, correct?
Just your get-around
Street
town car. What would you drive?
A red Corvette.
Really? What year?
1979.
I guess that's not a beater.
Yep.
Now, if you, what would be your dream car? Not race car.
A Ferrari. Red Ferrari.
Red like your race car.
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
What was your first job?
I worked for my family in the cattle business, so I worked cleaning trucks and trailers and cattle pens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite NASCAR driver? It doesn't have to be current, to be all-time.
Absolutely, Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon's your guy?
Yeah.
If you could race at any track at any level, where would it be?
Bristol.
Bristol's a popular answer.
I think
We've
that's
gotten there
the
quite a
old
few
Bristol or
times.
the current Bristol?
The current Bristol.
I like the old Bristol, but that's just me. What's your favorite thing to do away from the racetrack?
Go camping.
Yeah, camping and fishing.
Camping, fishing.
You fish?
Yes.
We'll have to go sometime.
Absolutely.
This is the perfect weekend for that. So that does
Yes,
it for our
is.
checkered finish and those questions. What sponsors would you like to thank?
I would like to thank Professional Drywall, King's Campers, Norman Electric, Breber Music, Custom Meats, and Michael Supper Club.
There's your sponsors. We have our sponsors as well, and we have a couple of gifts for you. Country Fresh Meats, a gift card for you.
And a Fox 55 Fastlane t-shirt.
Well, thank you very much.
So you can fit in with Curt and I now
Yeah.
with the shirts that we're wearing. Our
Absolutely.
thanks to Jay Van Der Geest. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We will be right back with Tech Tips after the break. Now we're into the fourth turn and heading into the final stretch, and it is time to get technical. As always, we get our insight from Jana Wimmer and former Sprint Cup driver Scott Wimmer.
Fox 55's Fastlane Tech Tips are brought to you by Car Parts.
Welcome to this week's Tech Tips. I'm joined by former NASCAR Sprint Cup driver Scott Wimmer, and this week we are talking shocks. And this is a very important piece of the race car. It's complicated. There's a lot that goes into it, more than just throwing this on the car. Explain to me about the shock a little bit and the things that you can do with it.
Well, there's a lot of different things we can do with these. Rebound and compression, that's what you mostly hear about shocks. It's all adjusted right here. Take an Allen wrench, you can speed up how fast the shock comes out, slow it down. Same thing with compression. You can speed it up or slow it down. We use about 4 different makes of shock manufacturers in a late model race car. Our springs slide over this. This is how you adjust the spring to take the slack up in the shock so your spring sits in there. Bolted on the car, fine-tuning adjustment. A lot of people spend a lot of money and a lot of time trying to figure their shocks out. It is a very important part of our race cars.
And a big piece of this is, whether you do it yourself or you send it to someone that does it, is getting these shocks on a dyno and reading the graphs and how everything works together. And that's just a small piece of how important these shocks are.
Yes, definitely. And a dyno is very, very important. You can rebuild this shock 100 times and come out with 100 different scenarios. So years ago, we never used to have them. They've become really popular now, even in the short track and the NASCAR ranks. You rebuild these shocks, you take them apart, you can change the pistons and shims and all kinds of things inside of them, put them on the dyno. You'll know what you have before you even go out on the racetrack. So dynos are a very important part, just as the shocks are.
You talked about adjusting these. Now, what are different instances when you want to make adjustments? We look at tracks in our area, like a Marshfield or a Wausau, they're a lot flatter, and then maybe something like a Golden Sands, which is a little more banked. Are those instances where you're looking, to make adjustments on the shock for that rebound, and what do you want where?
Oh, it's very complicated. Whether you go to Marshfield, Wausau, or even Golden Sands, you kind of have your baseline set up, what you feel comfortable running. Some tracks are a little rougher. Wausau has some real big bumps in 3 and 4. So guys will change their rebound. Usually you want it softer, so you would have the shock extend faster, kind of suck up the bumps. Place like Marshfield, really flat. You could suck the car down. The lower the car, the faster the car. So you just suck it down to the track, try to keep it right as low as you can, not a lot of bumps to deal with there.
And the other piece of this puzzle is the springs, and we're going to talk about that on next week's Tech Tips. Thanks for joining us.
And just like that, we are out of time for this week's show. Our thanks to Scott Wimmer and Curt Keene, as well as our driver guest, Jay Van Der Geest. And we couldn't do it without our sponsors, Brickner's of Wausau, Flipside Graphics, Country Fresh Meats, and Car Parts. From all of us here at Fox 55, have a great week, and we will see you at the track.